Hello students, I'm your lecturer, Dr. P. Govender. Welcome to this module. The name of this module is Emergent Numeracy and Emergent Science and Technology. The module code is PRGRT03. Students, this is information if you want to communicate with me or the university. For any matters concerning the module itself, please contact me, Dr. P. Govender. You can call me Salosh, it's fine. And here is my email address, followed with the telephone number. Number 2, if you need any information with regard to your registration, you can contact Mr. Mshlambo, and here is his contact details. Number 3, any issues related to financial issues, you can contact the details. And number 4, study materials. And number 5, it's general issues related to this program. This is the overview of today's presentation. First, we will talk about the study materials and the recommended resources. Next, we will move on to the assessment plan. Then, I will guide you on assignment 2 and emergent mathematics. And then we would look at the portfolio, which has 2 sections. Section A, which deals with mathematics, and section B, which deals with life skills and technology. This is your assessment plan. What is an assessment plan? An assessment plan, students, is a plan that gives you an idea of how you are going to be assessed for this module. Now, in this module, you are going to have 2 assignments and a portfolio. Assignment 1 is multiple choice questions, which most of you have completed. But if you have not yet completed assignment 1, we have given you an extended date, which is the 29th of May. Assignment 2 is a short question about an experiment. And here again, the due date was 22nd May, and the extended date is the 30th of June because of COVID-19. But students, please do not rely on the due date, or rather should I say, the extended date. I would advise that you submit your assignments once you complete your assignments. And please remember, do not post your assignment. Upload your assignments on my UNISA. This is the safest option. If you need assistance or if you cannot do it, please ask someone who can help you to upload your assignment on my UNISA. Your portfolio. There is no exams for this module. What I mean is that there is no venue-based exams, but you are going to be assessed on a portfolio. Now, a portfolio is like an assignment, but has a lot of evidence of what you've been doing. The due date for your portfolio is the 14th of August. Here again, students, please do not wait for the 14th of August. You've got 4 other modules in this program to complete. So as you complete your portfolios and your assignments, upload them on my UNISA. Next is your study material. Now, at UNISA, we follow a blended approach to learning, which means that you will receive hard copies or print copies of your official study material, as well as you will find your official study material in the My UNISA platform. Now, students, My UNISA platform is accessible to every student. You need to have your student number and your password, and please, students, you need to use My Life UNISA account, because you will be receiving lots of notices and announcements on email about My UNISA. So for this module now, you need to have tutorial letter PRGRT03, which is TUT Letter 101. Now, TUT Letter 101 is a very important tutorial letter because it has both your assignments. Next is your prescribed book, which is a handbook for grade R teaching. Now, in this book here, the relevant chapter for this book is chapter 11. Then we move on to your study guide. You would have received your maths study guide, Emergent Numeracy, Module 3 and Part A. And then another study guide based on life skills, which is Emergent Science and Technology. And then your portfolio workbook. Additional resources, students. Now, additional resources is what I will upload on my UNISA as additional resource. Now, this will help you when you qualify and when you are asked to teach in the classroom. And what I'm referring here to is the two policies, the Department of Education policies. So I will upload the Maths Grade R Curriculum Assessment Policy and the Life Skills Foundation Phase Policy. It's actually very important for you to have these policies, even when you are completing your assignments. You'll find some valuable information there. And then it will also help you to stay focused on what is appropriate and relevant for grade R. Let us now look at assignment 2. The due date for assignment 2 is 22nd of May. And I would love every one of you to complete your assignment by the due date. And it's a very easy assignment. Teaching children about air can be a difficult task since air is invisible. In fact, only a few times air is mostly noticeable is when it is in the form of wind. Through a focused investigation and experiment, children should be given opportunities to acquire the scientific knowledge and understanding of the force of wind or air in motion. Design and write out an experiment involving either wind or air for the very young children using the guidelines provided. Now, many students have been phoning me and are very concerned that they are not in the classroom or they could not go for teaching practice, and hence they didn't know how to complete this experiment. Now, you don't have to complete this experiment in a classroom with a group of learners. I suggest that you do this experiment at home, and as you do this experiment at home, take out photos, and that can be your evidence. Or you can also do it with a little child, maybe your own child, or a relative's child, or a neighbor's child, and you could ask questions and try to get responses from the child. Now, this is an example of an activity, and this is what I would like, this is how I would like you to structure your assignment 2. Description of the experiment, there's 5 marks there. Now, I want you there to explain what is your experiment about. For example, you will say, I will show the children how to make a windmill, or paper airplane, or a hot air balloon. And in this experiment, I will show the children what type of material is appropriate so that it will be able to show how air causes movement. Number 2 is the relevance or appropriateness to grade R. What it actually means is that how relevant or appropriate is this experiment for grade R learners? Some students would do an experiment that involves, for example, chemicals, that involves, for example, resources or materials that is not appropriate for grade R learners. Things that's more appropriate for maybe high school learners. Things that's appropriate for the use in the laboratory. Now, that is not appropriate for grade R. For something to be appropriate for grade R, it needs to appeal to the interest level of the child. It must create curiosity. It must relate to the child's real life experiences. And it must be able to connect to the child's home culture, home language, and so forth. Now, that is what we mean when we talk about relevance. Next, learning outcome. Here, this is this is the heart of your assignment. When it comes to learning outcomes, we want you to refer to the scientific process skills. That is why we do experiments with little children, to explore the scientific process skills. And there are 8 scientific process skills, which I will show you in the next slide. Now, when you are writing down your learning outcomes, you would write it down as follows. The children will observe how stronger wind can make the kite go higher. The children will predict what will happen if the sticks used to make the kite are too heavy. The children will communicate by answering questions posed by the teacher. The children will observe how the paper airplanes fly in the air. Now, in these outcomes, the scientific process skills are observe, predict, communicate, observe. Now, as I said to you, there are 8 scientific process skills. And these are the 8 scientific process skills that you can use in your experiment as outcomes. Observing, to look closely and to apply all senses to gather information. So almost every experiment will involve the children to observe. The next process skill is comparing. Compare and describe likeness and differences. That's the easy one that can be involved in every experiment. The next experiment is classifying, group, and sort objects. For example, when the children are making a kite, you will have different types of sticks, thick sticks, thin sticks, heavy objects, light objects, thin plastic, heavy cardboard. For example, thick string, thin string. And then the students will, the learners will then sort out the material that they think would be able to make the kite and also make the kite so that it can fly high. In other words, what the learners are expected to do there is they will sort out items that are heavy from items that are light. The next is measuring. Measuring is about quantifying observations, looking at distance, time, volume, temperature. What is hot? What is cold? Why? When does water evaporate, for example? Inferring. It means made indirectly, based on prior knowledge and experience. Guessing what is going to happen based on prior knowledge. For example, what do you think will happen if I had to use the thicker stick to make the kite? Experimenting, doing something to see what happens, and communicating to be able to show or tell someone, example, describe, draw, make, graphs, write findings, and so forth. And even communicating is a skill that can be used with every single experiment. When you ask the children questions, and when the children answer the questions, they are actually communicating with you. When you ask children to draw something, they are communicating in a different way by drawing. So, children can communicate in different and various ways. So, students, remember that these are the 8 scientific process skills. You need to remember this for your assignment 2, as well as when you're completing your portfolio. Materials used. What does material mean? When in a classroom situation, the materials will refer to the items that you would use to conduct this experiment. Now remember that when you are conducting any experiment with little children, you need to be mindful about the safety of these material. For example, blunt nose scissor. If you're using anything that's sharp, it needs to be used by the teacher with the learner observing. Explanation of the steps. Now, this is an example of making a pinwheel. And here you will explain the steps that you would use to make the object. And next, you will state how the object that you made is used to show that air causes movement. For example, look at the bullet number 4. Fold the corners marked with circles on the pattern into the center and staple the layers together. When all 4 blades are folded in, stick a straight pin or thumbtack through all the layers of the center. Push the pin through the eraser on the pencil to finish the pinwheel. Hold the pinwheel in front of a fan and watch it spin. Now, that is the heart of your experiment. The currents of air coming from the fan catch the curved part of the blades, causing them to spin. And there, what I want to add is now you need to include relevant questions that would show the learners that you are focusing on the scientific process. Remember, number 5 is not complete, as you see on my slide, because I don't want to influence you. I want you to give me your own answer. For example, you would say, the children will observe that when the fan is at high speed, the pinwheel goes faster. The children will communicate by drawing, answering questions, and so forth. The children will predict what will happen if instead of the straight pin, a stapler was used. The children will, and you will use all the scientific process skills to ask questions. The next part is evaluation. What we mean here is, whenever you teach in the foundation phase classroom, you as a teacher need to evaluate your lesson. We call this here either evaluation or reflection. So what you will do here is, you will reflect on what went well, what didn't go well, how can I improve next time, why didn't it work? And these are questions that you'll reflect on with the intention of improving your teaching the next time. And then when it comes to pictures and photos, I suggest that you take out pictures of photos using your cell phone. And because you're not in a classroom now, that's the easiest. If you don't want to use a cell phone, you can draw and scan your pictures. But the most convenient one is to use your cell phone. So that is what assignment 2 is all about. Simple, isn't it? Now, let us move to the portfolio guidelines. These are general guidelines about your portfolio. For example, as I said earlier, your portfolio is compulsory if you want to pass your exams or pass this module. It replaces your examination, or it is your examination, but in a different form. Please upload your portfolio on My UNISA. How do you do this? You scan the pages and you send it through My UNISA JRouter as a complete document. If you want to type your assignment, which is excellent, you can go ahead and type your assignment and upload it. Please remember to include your student number and the correct module code and module name. We had problems last year where students write the incorrect module code. Instead of PRGRT03, they would put PRGRT02, and in that case, after they load that assignment or portfolio, what the marker does is the marker rejects it because the marker thinks it's a wrong portfolio. The other mistake that you make is you write the incorrect unique number or even assignment number. In that case, again, you will get your assignment cancelled, and it means that you've got to redo or resubmit. If, for example, after the lockdown, you are allowed to post your assignment. Now, posting must be a last option, okay? We want every student to upload it on MyUnisa. So if you post your assignment, please make sure that you post your portfolio separately and not all together as one, with PRGR2 and 3 and 4 all together in one. It is bound to get lost. And colleagues, I'm giving you a friendly reminder. Please try to avoid posting at all costs. Now, this is what your assignment portfolio assessment rubric looks like. Now, many of you do not know what an assessment rubric is like or what it's meant for. An assessment rubric tells you in advance how you are going to be assessed, okay? And it's important for you to know how you are going to be awarded marks so that you know exactly where you need to spend more time and where you need to spend more, give more information, okay? And so you'll find that the total marks and the student's marks. So in your portfolio, the marker will complete the column on the extreme right that says student's marks, right? And this portfolio is made up of two sections. Section A is maths, which is out of 50 marks. Section B is out of science, is out of 50 marks as well, and it's science and technology. So now, let me give you an example of some of the questions that can be asked in your portfolio. Let us look at scenario 1, okay? In this scenario, or the purpose of this activity is for you to know the different types of counting. We all know that children can count. Children in grade R, when they come to you, they all can count. They will count up to 20, up to 100. Some can count backwards. But is that meaningful counting? Is that counting enough to build on mathematical understanding of other concepts? The counting the children know, like a parrot-like counting, is what we call rote counting. What we are heading or aiming for is what we call rational counting. Now let us look at this scenario. Ms. Lamini places 10 different colored blocks a step apart on the classroom floor. She asked Sandy to step on 4 mats. As Sandy stepped on the mat, she counted aloud. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then she stopped. Now the other scenario. Miss Glamini then asked Sandy to take 3 more steps from there. From the 4th mat, Sandy took 3 steps. Sandy counted as follows. 5, 6, 7, as she stepped on. Okay? Identify the type of counting used in this activity. Is it rote counting or is it rational counting? And then provide a reason for your answer. Okay. Think about this whilst we look at the second example. Identify the types of counting. Scenario 2 is Ms. Kosa taught the children the following rhymes. When the children could all recite the rhyme, Ms. Kosa then replied, all my children learn to count. I don't have to worry about them. And the rhyme is 1, 2, buckle my shoe. All of you know this rhyme. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, once I caught a fish alive. Now, you had to determine whether scenario 1 and scenario 2 is rote or rational counting. I want you to make up your decision, but let us look at what both types of counting entails. Rote counting, the learner recites number name from memory. The learner knows number names 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because the mother constantly say to the child, let us count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's rhythmic counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I caught a fish alive. Rhythmic counting, parrot-like counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now you say it. The parent tells the child. You say it, and the child says it. Repeats like a parrot. Know the correct sequence, but cannot correspond the objects being counted with the number name. If you ask the child, you give the child 5 counters. You ask the child to count. The child will quickly count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even without counting the objects. Next, we move on to what we call rational counting. Numeral names attached in correct sequence. The child will say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And like in the first scenario, the child was able to count on from the 4th mat to 5, 6, 7, the correct sequence. Also, the last counting word shows a cardinal value of what has been counted. Here, for example, you give the child 5 counters. Now, cardinal value means that the child will say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the child knows that 5 is the value of the whole set of counters. Okay? And next is one-to-one correspondence. When you give a child, for example, a set of cups and a set of saucers, the child will match the cup to the saucer, the cup to the saucer, the cup to the saucer, one-to-one correspondence. Counting on all, you give the child 2 sets of counters, 3 in one set, 5 in another set. And you ask the child, how many all together? So if the child is using the counting all strategy, the child will say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My answer is 8. Then you have another strategy called counting back, where the child, if you say to the child, I had 5 sweets and I ate 2 sweets, the child will say 5, 4, 3, counting on. The same example as I've given you, a set of 3 counters and a set of 5 counters. So counting on will mean the child knows that there is 3. The child then says 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The child counts on from a given set of numbers. Now that is the difference between rote counting and rational counting. Now, let us look at activity 2. Plan an activity to teach rote counting. If you are using song, poem, or a rhyme, you must type out the words of the song, rhyme, and staple it to that page in your portfolio. Or if you're typing, you'll be able to type it out. Plan an activity to teach rational counting. Include the teaching resources you would use in teaching the activity. As I said to you, when you are planning an activity for rote counting, it could be either a song, a poem, or a rhyme. And state also how you would use that poem or song to teach rote counting. When you are planning an activity for rational counting, in the previous slides, I've given you examples of the activities such as one-to-one correspondence and so forth. The next topic, important topic covered in your portfolio is symmetry. What is symmetry? When a shape or an object can be folded in half and both sides are exactly the same, the object is said to be symmetrical. The concept symmetry is an important mathematical concept for children to understand, as later geometry builds on this concept. Now, this is an example of a activity, all right, which you also need to write. Now, when you are writing your example of your activity for your portfolio, you must follow this format. Activity, complete the design of the butterfly to make both sides look the same. In other words, the way you word your activity must be in the language that you are going to communicate with the children. Make the left side of the butterfly the same as the right side. Now that is the teacher's instruction. Using the shape, cut out the pieces and place these shapes in the correct position. Trace around them and color them to look the same as the opposite. Okay, that is the instruction that you would give to the children to complete this activity. And the resources. Resource is another name for learning materials. In this activity, the children will need to use crayon, worksheet of an outline of a butterfly, the shape templates to trace out, and then you will take out a photo or you will draw for the activity as you see here. Okay. Now here are some examples of symmetry. Can you see in the first example, it's geometric shapes where the left side is the same as the right side. So if we had to fold that on the line, the left side shape will sit exactly on the right hand side shapes. Next is symmetrical leaf. Now in this activity, you can ask the children to complete the right hand side to make this leaf look exactly like the left hand side. And here's a butterfly. It's activity, paint activity, where the center body of the butterfly is made out of an ice cream stick, and then you put blobs of paint on one side, and then you fold the page over the other side, and you get an imprint of a symmetrical design. The next is a tortoise, and next is our face is symmetrical, and there you find a little bug and a butterfly. So these are some examples or activities that you can use when you are writing out your experiment. Next topic that we move on to is time. Grade R learners learn about time informally to understand sequencing, routines, and duration. Have you thought about why we do not teach children, grade R learners, or the younger children, clock time, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock? But rather, we teach them time through days of the week, seasons, months of the year, routines, television program, meal times, day and night. Do you know why? Think about the children's ability to count. Think about the children's ability to know numbers. They are still developing number sense in grade R. So therefore, if we tell them it is 3 o'clock, they have got no sense of what 3 o'clock means. Hence, we teach time informally. Now, this is an example of a daily program in grade R. This is a very, very important slide, students. In other words, this is a map of how your daily program or your activities in a day will unfold. Now, in grade R, we refer to the daily program as all the activities that happens in a day. But in the formal school setting, like from grade 1 onwards, this is what we would call a timetable. Now, this is a daily program can be used to teach children the concept of time. For example, the children, through the routines of these activities, the children will know exactly that after the discussion of greeting, register, and the weather chart, we are going to either do language, maths, or life skills. The children will know exactly that after break time, it is going to be free play outside. Before we have a nap, we will have story time. So these are examples of time. Now, discuss how you would use the daily program, daily routines to teach children about time. What are the daily routines in the daily program? So the daily routines will refer to the activities that takes place on a daily basis in the preschool classroom. For example, it is made up of teacher-guided routine activities and child-initiated activities. And examples of routines is For example, greeting, marking the register, discussing weather, talking about the days, the toilet routine, your refreshment time, your rest time are all examples of daily routine because it takes place on a daily basis. And children will get so used to know what comes before and what comes after. And that's how you teach the children time. For example, you use words such as, first, we will have our refreshments, and then it's going to be rest time. Or after toilet routine, we will have our refreshments. Or before we have our refreshments, we will go to the toilet. So these are examples of words that you would use to reinforce time informally. Learners learn about the sequence of events through the daily program. The next is calendar. Now, when we talk about a calendar in the early grades, we refer to days of the week, months of the year, and season. They all form part of a calendar. Explain how you would teach time using such examples: days of the week, months of the year, and seasons. Here again, you would say to the, okay, let us see now what day is before Wednesday, what day is after Wednesday, on which day do we do physical education, on which day do we do experiments in science, okay? And here again, list the appropriate vocabulary used and provide pictures of a calendar, pictures of a season chart, pictures of a chart that shows months of the year. And these are important resources for you to make, students, because when you go out to teach, you will have your resources, your own resources to use. And next is, how would you use a song or poem or rhyme to teach time? There are so many songs, poems, and rhymes to teach song. What's the Time, Mr. Wolf is a game. You can even include a game. And then you need to explain how you would use the song or the poem to teach children the concept time. The next question in your portfolio is about teaching resources. Now, in the past, many students have difficulties in understanding what is a teaching resource. A teaching resource is a resource that you would use to build a concept. For example, in this scenario, Ms. Sumalani prepared a number of activities to introduce the number 5 to her grade R learners. To develop the number 5 concept, she planned the sequence activities as follows. She showed learners picture cards with 5 sweets. She asked learners to count out 5 counters. She asked learners to identify body parts that they have 5 of. Asked learners to color in 5 balls from a set of 10 balls on a worksheet. Asked learners to clap hands 5 times and hop 5 times. Now, in the first activity, she showed learners picture cards with 5 sweets. What is the resource there? The resource, is it 5 sweets or is it picture cards? Obviously, it is picture cards with 5 sweets. The next, she showed learners to count out 5 counters. That's a straightforward one. Asked learners to identify body parts, also straightforward. Asked learners to color in 5 balls from a set of 10 balls on a worksheet. Now, in that activity, many students would say that the teaching resource is 5 balls. It's not 5 balls. It's a worksheet with a set of 10 balls. Ask learners to clap hands 5 times. So your resource there is body parts or your hands. That was the end of part A, maths. We now move on to part B, which is life skills, emergent science, and technology. Now, in life skills in grade R, life skills is made up of a number of areas. One is beginning knowledge, which includes social science, natural science, and technology. Then we move on to personal and social well-being and social health. And here we will we focus on relationship with people, with the environment, with nutrition, with diseases. Now we will talk about corona and so forth. And then we move on to physical education, where we develop the child's fine and gross motor skills, perceptual development, and motor development, and so forth. And then it's creative arts, which focuses on performing arts, that's drama, dance, music. And then we move on to visual arts, which is two-dimensional and three-dimensional drawing, painting, construction, and so forth. So this here is an overall view of what life skills in grade R should be including. For your activity, your portfolio activity, using recycling as a theme, plan a science activity to make grade R learners aware of the importance of either reducing, reusing, or recycling. Include the following headings when presenting the activity. This is how you would set out your activity. You will describe the activity. You will say the outcomes of the activity. For example, here again, you would say, learners will compare materials and sort them. Or learners will compare materials and sort them according to items made of cardboard, plastic, tin, and so forth, depending on what your activity is. The resources used is what you would use, and presentation is how you would present your activity to the learners to teach them that things can be used to recycle. For example, here, you can show them how an empty a plastic bottle can be used to make a money bank, or how a Coke bottle can be used to make a rain gauge, or how any items can be used to make something that is functional. And you'll take out photographs and the illustrations. And then the resources, an example of the process skills. Colleagues, I just want to go back, learner interaction. Here again, I know that many of you are very concerned that you didn't go for your teaching practice, but that does not stop you from doing this portfolio. You can do this portfolio with this experiment with learners in your house, or you can show us how you're doing this experiment and take out pictures and show us. Okay. Now, these are examples of the 3 R's, which stands for recycle, reduce, and reuse. So here, as you can see, old tires from cars are being used as plant holders on a wall. From garbage to garden. Remember, all your vegetable peels, your peelings, your fruits, your things that are disposable, you put them in your garden, you make a collection, and then it becomes compost and it goes to your garden. The next is the picture of the beads that you see made from magazine pages. You cut off strips of magazine pages and you roll them into a little thin pencil, and you use some glue and you make your beads. And then we will look at the construction of a cardboard, using old cardboard to make a toy car that can bring a lot of joy and fun for children. Next, these are further examples where you use straws to make flowers, and where you use a bottle to make a robot, for example. You use a drum to make a musical instrument. These are some examples. When you're planning an art activity related to the theme of recycling, here again, you need to name the useful item. For example, the useful item that you're going to make is a pencil holder. The resources that you will need is 2 toilet roll cylinders, paint to decorate, and a coffee tin or lid. And the steps followed will be the steps that you will use to make the pencil holder, and then the illustrations will be photos that you will take of the item that you have made. Students, we have come to the end of the portfolio. And in this presentation, what I discussed was how to answer questions, how to complete your assignment 2, how to complete your portfolio. Now, that does not mean that when you do your assignments and your portfolios, you have mastered the module PRGRT03. Please, I urge you to study the study guides, both the study guides, complete all the activities as you go along, and it's going to help you tremendously to become a very successful teacher. Remember, in conclusion, I want to say, tell me and I forget. Show me and I remember. Involve me and I understand. What this Chinese proverb actually means is that you got to involve children all the time in their learning. Do not tell them they're going to forget. Let them do and let them learn. And I just want to conclude also by saying, a teacher takes a hand, opens a mind, touches a heart, shapes the future. The only way to learn mathematics is to do mathematics. Students, thank you very much, and I hope that this presentation is very useful and helpful to you. And all the best. Goodbye and take care.